Hey guys, Gun here. Today I'm going to explain to you guys how to farm maps in this game, because I know that a lot of people are struggling to get into the map system, since the map drop rate outside of maps is quite terrible, and the map drop rate inside of a map is determined by the amount of quantity found on the map itself. The quantity found on your gear is not used for the calculation purpose of map drop rate inside of a map. The only quantity found that is used towards the map drop rate is the quantity found on the map itself. If it says item quantity 106% on the map, then you have more than double the chance to get a map out of that map. And this is very important. You can enchant maps just like you would be able to enchant items. If you have a white item and use a transmutation orb on it, it will become blue. And the same also applies to maps. As you can see, I have gathered quite a few. And the reason for this is because I'm aiming for the correct mods. And what are the correct mods for map drop rates? I'm going to explain to you right now. Let's say you got a white map like this. And for level 66 maps, you don't really have to chisel them, because if you do a white map, the chance to get another map out of it is about 100%, but RNG is going to screw this over. Sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get 3, sometimes you don't get any 3 times in a row, and it averages out at about 1 map per map if you do a white map, maybe a little bit less. But if you enchant it, you get quite a few more map drops out of a map, and average at about 1 map per map, sometimes 1.5 maps per a single map. And that's what you want to be aiming for. And that's the reason why I wouldn't recommend using chisels on level 66 maps. Instead, you should aim for very high quantity, something like 35 to 40%. Or if the mods are too hard for you, or the quantity bonus isn't enough, like this one, this is only 30%, you reroll the map. This is also not enough. Not enough. You just reroll it until it has either something like this, close to 40% item quantity on a blue map is about fine, or you want to be aiming for something like, I tried to get it here, more magic monsters. Why is more magic monsters so important? The loot amount inside of a map is highly dependent on the mob type in the map itself. If there are a lot of magic monsters or rare monsters, the amount of loot is increased by a lot. And if you increase this amount of magic monsters or rare monsters with the mod over here, you get a lot more loot out of the map. And this also includes map drop rate. And there's an additional bonus if you do a map like this, because magic monsters have a chance to drop a map level 1 tier higher than the map you are currently doing. And rare monsters have a chance to drop 2 levels above that. Which means that if you are doing a level 66 map and you kill a magic monster, you have a chance to get a level 67 map. And that way you can progress in the map tier, as you can see. And if you do a map like this with about 40 to 50% magic monsters and a little bit of extra quantity, which is 18% in this case, this is more than enough for level 66 maps. You want to be aiming for magic monsters, rare monsters. As I said, magic monsters increase the loot by a lot, and rare monsters, even though it is only a single rare monster, and if you increase the amount of rare monsters by 50%, instead of 5 rare monsters inside of a map you might only get 7, and that doesn't look like a great increase, but the rare monsters always have minions around them, and these minions also drop loot, and that's why it's a little bit better than it looks on paper. And as I said, you want to be aiming for magic monsters, rare monsters. If you don't have any of these, you want to be aiming for about 30 to 40% quantity or more on a blue map, or area is larger, about 40% to 50%. If you hit something like 20 to 30, I wouldn't really do it, because that's not enough. And another good mod is pack size. increased pack size, because it is the pack size increases the amount of all monsters, more white monsters, more magic monsters, and more rare monsters. It is possibly the best mod when it comes to increased map drop rate. Except maybe for Maze, because Maze makes some map types much bigger. The Maze map type, mod type, if you do a indoor map like something like, let's see, Overground Ruin map, if you do it as a maze, it becomes much larger. It is insane how much larger the map becomes, and if you do a much larger map, you get to kill much more enemies, and if you have a proper quantity find bonus on the map, something like maze plus magic monsters or rare monsters, then you get a lot more loot out of the map. And that way you can get a few more higher level maps like 67 and 68. Just keep doing the 66 maps with the mods I just referenced, and try to get these mods, and sooner or later you will get a few 67 or 68 maps, and then you can start chiseling them. If you have a 68 map like this, you just take the map, chisel it, and the chisel, just like armor scrap and blacksmith whetstone, increase the base quantity, the base quality of the item. And in case of maps, this gives 20% free item quantity, which means that you get 20% more maps out of the map. And this is especially important when you get mods like more rare monsters or magic monsters, because their loot is also increased by 20%. And for these maps, higher level maps, I would recommend using some more currency. Wow, actually this is quite insane. More magic monsters and more rare monsters. And 50% quantity. This is actually pretty good. This is stuff you want to be aiming for. Either you get a yellow map with about 70% to 80% quantity, and if you're lucky about 100%, this is what you want to be aiming for. Or you get something like magic monsters, rare monsters, monster pack size, area is larger, or maze. And if you have any of these additional mods like magic monster, rare monster, then you can get it is enough to get about 50% quantity on the map, because the modifier, magic monster modifier, already grants a lot more loot. And that way, even if the map only states 50% quantity, it actually has a lot more quantity, because the magic monster and rare monsters innately increase the drop rate inside of a map. And for higher level maps, like this one, as you can see, level 70, I rolled it quite a few times with Chaos Orbs, and it has item quantity 106% and 30% more rare monsters. This is a very good map, but also a very hard map, but I'm going to do it later on. And as you can see, I already managed to get a level 74 map, which is the highest I currently have. And if you keep chiseling the higher level maps and rolling the currency on it, using the currency on it, you will eventually get to a higher and higher level of map tier. And as you can see, it's something like a pyramid, if you consider this a pyramid. The more currency you put into it, the more higher level maps you get, and even more lower level maps. And it forms something like a pyramid, as you can see. Even though you will get quite a few level 66 maps and 67 maps, you won't get as many high level maps, but if you get at least one per high level map, then you are fine. And that's the reason why you want to use as much currency on maps as possible, because you want to progress in the map tier system, and if you do higher level maps you get a lot more experience and also better items. And that's about it. I think I covered all the points. One more thing, if you are doing higher level maps, the enemies have a lot more life and a lot more deal a lot more damage, and you should be careful whether you are able to do the map. This map, for example, has monsters reflect elemental damage, and currently this is impossible for my character, because most of my damage is elemental damage, because I convert all of it to elemental damage, even though I'm using a physical damage bow. And because of that, this map over here, I didn't do it yet, even though I already enchanted it, but I already have an idea how I'm going to go about it. But if you don't have any special gear or something like that to do maps like this, just do it in a group and you will get through it much easier, and be able to do a very hard map and get a lot more map drops out of it. And that's about it, guys. See you guys next time.